Welcome to the Jones Zone, a podcast by Darryl and JJ Jones.
I tell you, I tell my kids because of course we see homeless. It's part of our lives. And it's just so sad. It's similar to if we saw someone on the side of the street with a broken leg and they were bleeding with a compound fracture, we wouldn't let them just sit there and die. We would help them out. And it's I think somewhat similar to that, because these are things that are kind of beyond their control to a certain extent, or at least something that requires some help.
Absolutely. And I think it's critical that we all, we understand that anyone can be homeless at any given time. Homelessness does not discriminate. And just when I was driving here this morning, I saw this very young guy just sitting outside a store. And I could just see his pain in his face. I could see that he probably didn't get any sleep last night. Whether he was under the influence or not, that's not me. That's not for me to judge. But I can see the pain in his face, and just looking at him and seeing how young he is, just a flood of ideas came to mind, and it reminded me of the work that we do and how special it is that what we do for people. I wish I can go up to him and talk to him, which, by the way, we do also do our own outreach as part of our role at Grandma's House of Hope.
And so you'll even approach the homeless when you see
we
at times.
Yeah, we do have an outreach staff that would go out into the community and start just speaking to random people that are ready to come into a program, because not everyone's ready. And we sometimes have people that come into a program, and after being there for a couple of days, they realize that it's not their time and they end up going back on the streets. We can't hold anyone back, but we do encourage them that when they're ready to give us a call back.
There's something also special about Grandma's House of Hope. We're not an institution. We actually operate 11 warm, loving, beautiful homes locally. So when you come in, you become part of the family of Grandma's House of Hope. And that's been it's a different model, but it's been very effective, and people feel welcomed and actually belong to this family while they're with us at Grandma's House of Hope.
So how does Grandma's House of Hope work to address the unique needs and challenges faced by specific populations within the homeless community, such as veterans, youth families, and those struggling with mental illness and addiction?
So we don't serve families. We serve single individuals. We connect them to counseling services outside Grandma's House of Hope. I do have to say that the majority of our participants have already been in contact with a mental health provider through the OC Mental Health Office. So when they come to our program, they've already received counseling. And if they haven't, we make sure that we give them those referrals.
I had asked you previously about when you see homeless, you have an outreach too, but even those people that you have work on your team and your staff have to be somewhat trained in terms of how
Our staff are highly trained on how to have trauma-informed conversations. We don't provide clinical services directly ourselves, but we are trained to conduct crisis de-escalation. We know what the process is when we have a potential SI, which is suicide ideation. We know what steps to take to help the individual and helping them bring them back to baseline. So we do provide that training to our staff.
How do they get medication? So, for example, if someone comes in and they need, I don't know, the mental illness medications offhand.
They do take their medication while they're in our program. The only medication that they can keep with them while in the house, it's just like over-the-counter meds like aspirin, ibuprofen. Any control medication to treat their mental health, we keep it under storage.
But it's there at the house.
It's there at the house. So we do have medication time.
And our case managers oversee that with the participants. And while they're in the house, beyond the case managers, we have housing navigators, counselors, support specialists. So there's a team of really skilled people that are there to support and encourage and care for the participant at their time with us.
And what's the success rate as a layman here on this topic as far as the mental illness? What is the success rate of being able to have a drug that will not maybe cure it, but that will modify it enough to where you can live with it? I mean, are there some really good pharmaceuticals out there that tend to work?
I don't have an answer for that, but our success rate, I would say, is pretty high. not everyone that leaves our program moves into permanent housing. We do see a lot of participants reunifying with their family members. We have participants that move back to their sister's house or a friend's house that's willing to provide them a temporary place for them to stay while they wait for their housing vouchers, to be matched. So when we have people that move out with a relative, we see that as a success too, because they're not going back on the streets. Or they just wait until they get housed.
Well, by golly, this flew by because I think we're at our last question here. The hostage crisis is almost over. I'm kidding. So,
It's been great.
what are the most significant policy changes or funding initiatives that you believe local or national governments could implement to better support the work of organizations like Grandma's House of Hope?
There's a dire need for increased funding for affordable housing programs such as Section 8. I also feel that there needs to be an expansion on Medicaid coverage for individuals with mental health issues, increased funding for homelessness services such as more emergency shelters, more transitional housing programs. Grandma's House of Hope in itself, we're expanding, like Irene said, but there's so much more that needs to be done on a community level. And I also feel that there has to be an increase for homeless prevention programs.
What things can be done to prevent this? What are some things that you maybe have in mind?
I think there's a lack of community support. We still live in times where not everyone understands mental health and homelessness. We still live in a time where people judge. And I think community needs to really come together and help support our community members, because these are people that are part of our niche. And if we don't work as a team, we're going to continue seeing, and homelessness will continue to perpetuate if we don't have that support from the community.
That allows me to jump into the hot topic that Grandma's House of Hope is dealing with currently. You asked what can be changed. And just as you said, Adriana, the outlook from the community and our cities. And the cities should be supporting institutions and organizations and nonprofits who are trying to help the homeless. We're dealing with a situation right now that 2 years ago, we applied for a conditional use permit to open up a transitional housing in Orange County in the very lovely area of Anaheim. I believe it's called the Anaheim Colony District. It's a very large house. It would allow 16 women who are having issues to live at the property. We applied for this permit 2 years ago at the encouragement of the city, and because of the pushback by the community, we were denied that permit. So in this beautiful house that could easily fit more than 16 people, we're limited to 8. Those people that are not in the house are living on the street. Is that a great option? Isn't it better to bring them in and help them move forward? So that happened in 2021. The Attorney General and Grandma's House of Hope thought this was wrong. So we brought a lawsuit to correct the injustice. 2 years into it last year, the judge ruled in favor of Grandma's House of Hope and said we are no longer recognizing the permit requirement that the city is requiring because the Attorney State General doesn't require that permit. So the judge ruled in our favor, and we were celebrating. This past Wednesday, I think May 8th, in closed session, the Anaheim City Council ruled unanimously 7-0 to appeal the judge's ruling. So what does that do? Those people who we could be helping are still on the street. We have a whole program set up to help them with great success. And the city, again, they're listening to people who I just feel are uneducated. They're acting out of fear and not fact. And that's a very sad situation. We're set up to help people. And by the way, we are property owners in Anaheim. We own 2 homes that we pay taxes. So we're not being represented fairly. And the city is interesting. The city of Anaheim, which is great. They have a housing page that talks about if you're homeless, if it's cold, where to go. And if you go to their temporary housing links, if you click on it, there's Grandma's House of Hope. So I really think cities need to be working with organizations like us to help improve the community. You know, everybody can say, I don't want it in my own backyard. I get that. But that's because lack of information. When you walk into these homes, these people are struggling. They're trying to improve. They're only there because they agree to the rules. So we need more support and communication with our community to make a bigger difference.
Yeah, I think people get the impression there's going to be loud and there's going to be crime and this and that.
And I think that's a misconception, and this
Yeah.
is truly a heartbreaking situation that we're going through, and it goes back to the lack of compassion, and not understanding the need for support for these individuals. We complain about cleaning the streets. We complain about seeing people on the streets under the influence. But what are we doing as a community? This is a pushback for Grandma's House of Hope. And just like I mentioned earlier, when I was driving here, seeing this guy homeless with no support, wouldn't it be best for us to bring him into one of our houses? And I can assure you that our participants in these homes are good people. It's not a circus outside like people think. Oh, like Irene said, we don't want this in the back of our house. I understand that because I also have a family. I also have a house, but nothing's going on. Like there's no illicit activity inside the house or outside the house. They're very quiet. I've been to these houses and I don't see anything happening. Everything's inside the house. It's not like they're going out there getting high on the streets and disrupting the peace. We have a policy, which is our good neighbor policy. And most of our participants do honor that policy. And we hardly have any issues with the neighbors. If anything, they're nice to us. They're kind to us. Give us an opportunity to help people get off the streets.
The people we're helping is someone's mother, someone's father, someone's grandmother, grandfather, son, daughter, brother, sister, neighbor, or friend. We're helping people that need the help. We're here to do it. Support our efforts.
I couldn't agree more. How are you currently getting funding?
The county.
Okay, the county, but you had come to the Rotary too. You have also get grants and things of that
Absolutely.
nature.
So that's a great topic. Now that we're on board, we've had a few changes in organization. So the majority of our money does come from grants, but it doesn't cover a lot of the areas that we need covering. So we'll be reaching out to the community to gain funding and support and donor support and volunteers, because only together can we make this happen. So grant funding is wonderful. It covers the programs, but we want to offer even more services to our participants to help them get to where they need to be.
Do you get private funding, individual donations? Do you want to give a phone number out to anyone that's listening that their heart is warmed by this? And anybody that's listening, and if you take in private funding, you want to give a phone number out that people can call to contribute?
Thank you, Darryl. We would love that. Our number is 714-558-8600, 714-558-8600, and we would welcome any support from the community and individuals.
Thank you again for coming today. I really appreciate you, and we'll hopefully help get this word out because you're doing such a wonderful job and such a great service that our society absolutely needs, and are so grateful that you're here.
Darryl, thank you for having both of us here. It's an honor to be here. I do want to give the intake line one more time. So if anyone's listening or anybody has someone that they know would need help, please have them call the intake line at 714-455-9528. That's 714-455-9528. It's a very simple procedure. A few questions are asked, and then we get the ball going.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you again, and everybody, please help out. Do whatever you can to help out here. And again, thank you for watching another episode of the Jones Zone. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.